All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Orange Crush podcast presented by Newton Scott and Associates and Chick-fil-A. We'll have more on those later in this episode. But David, as your little subheader has relayed, football is here. It is August 5th. Happy Tuesday. Hope everybody's staying dry. Feels like the rain hasn't stopped since Sunday afternoon, but also the football content hasn't stopped since last Thursday. Oh man, fall camp. We got the Hall of Fame game as well on the same night. You got to see DJ Uyunglele play some football. Also underthrow a go route by 60 million yards. But David, we had Dabo Sweeney on Thursday. We're going to have Graham Neff and Dabo Sweeney today as a sort of full circle moment for the first few days of football. But I'd love to just sort of get your first couple thoughts out here. I have in my notes, football's here with a little smiley face because it's just a nice time.
Well, here's the good deal is that we no longer have to use binoculars to look into the distance to see when football's coming. It's here. We were able to go out to practice. And then, there's several takeaways that I have from this first bit of practice. We'll talk about Tom Allin here in a second. But you and I had talked about, I think on the last podcast, wanting to see what the energy was like when we walk out there. When they play, the boys are back in town for the first time. Let's see what it's like. And I love the fact that over the past couple of years, I have seen Dabo Sweeney lead Tiger Jacks, which is where the team quits warming up. They all come together at midfield. Cade Klubnik led Tiger Jacks. It's a small thing, small detail, right? To me, that's huge because it shows that he has taken on that mantle of leadership like it's his team in so many ways. And then the next day on Friday, I went back over to the defensive side, and I saw one of the freshmen kind of make a mistake. And then I saw him get corrected, and he did the drill correctly. And I saw Peter Woods go over and pat him on the helmet, like, good job, kid. That's the way that we do it around here. You see TJ Parker doing it. I saw him do it with Marcus Dixon. Boom. Yeah, this is the way we do it. Marcus Dixon making the move. Dabo Sweeney, Brent Venables has said this forever. The best teams are player-led. And this appears to be a player-led team. You've got Wade Woodaz as a leader. Excuse me. You've got TJ Parker as a leader. Peter Woods is a leader. Antonio Williams is a leader. Cade Klubnik's a leader. Like, a lot of really good dudes out there. And it just makes you a little bit excited about the possibilities for this year.
I think it was stamped last night. We had conversations with the tight ends, most notably Ian Shefflin, which will sure come up at some point today. But Olsen Pat Henry kind of talked about, I asked him, what is sort of the feeling when he had mentioned this is year 3 with the same guys, going out there with the same quarterback, same receivers. He knows Antonio's to his left. He knows that Cade Klubnik will always be under center. He knows that Tristan Lee will be out there at left tackle. He said it's not a good or a bad feeling. It just kind of feels normal, which I don't really think you get in college football as much. So these guys are comfortable. It's easier for Cade Klubnik, who's sure of himself. It's easier for TJ Parker, who's in his junior season, just came off of double-digit sack season last year. They're comfortable getting on each other a little bit. There's a little bit more of a player-led authority. There's more authority, I think, within these players to take that kind of command and ownership of this group. Last year, the coaches had to tell them, guys, football season's here. You got to get a little energetic, got to get a little pumped up and be out here with the intensity that's required out of a championship contender. This year, it's a little more of they understand what they need to do. There was a situation with, I think it was Amari Adams and Mekhi Williams-Lee on Thursday. It was that first day. Nick Eason obviously is his usual self. Pretty, I would say, expects a lot out of his guys no matter who it is. And you got Peter Woods kind of almost tugged to the hip of Williams-Lee. It's his first practice. It's really hot outside, but there's just consistent encouragement. And boom, the drill finally gets done in the right way, as you kind of alluded to with other players. And it's just this cohesive ecosystem that I think this team lacked. And it's those small things too, right? We sort of alluded to it last year where the energy wasn't really kind of there, and it set the tone in the season opener. And so when you have a team like LSU coming back to town and all the expectations, it's these small things that we look for, especially because we don't get to see too much. So you really have to start digging through the fine print. You got to look at the corners, some of the folded edges. And David, I think you hit it right on the head there of how this team's kind of come together the first 3 days.
and I love Tom Allen's energy. He's got the microphone like Dabo has the microphone. I have noticed that Coach Sweeney kind of stays over on the offensive side, just lets Tom Allen do his thing, which is great. We haven't seen that in 3 years. Just as a point of reference, Sweeney's kind of been over there. But in fact, Dabo's so comfortable that first practice, I was sitting over there. I went over there to sit down to talk to Robbie Caldwell for a minute. And there are some older gentlemen that Robbie was talking to, and they were, as I put it, holding court. And Antonio Williams' mother, Courtney, she was there. And Dabo just leaves practice. Just leaves practice, and he comes over there and he's like, "What are you guys talking about? Like, what's going on over here?" And Robbie Caldwell was like, "We're talking baseball over here." And then we talk about the weather. And I'm like, man, Dabo's comfortable with this group. He's comfortable letting his coaches coach, which is something we haven't seen in forever. I love the fact that Tom Allen is over there on that microphone. And he is not only coaching his players, he is coaching his coaches. Coaches, demand it. We're going to finish. Repeat this. Do this. Demand it from them, coaches. Demand it from them. Wow. And you see it coming out. And you're like, oh, okay. This is a guy that you could run through a wall for. And if somebody turned and said to me, they said, well, now you don't have a coach out there begging for attention. He has it. He has the attention of everybody. So player-led, all-star coaching staff. Tom Allen kind of bringing the defense back. Now, I will say this. Let me look at a number really fast. There are some people who absolutely love to be miserable, right? They love to be miserable. And
that couldn't
got
be
a text message
today.
from a friend of mine who is a Clemson fan. And, it's like, oh, man, what do you think about Tom Allen? I'm like, well, I kind of have a bit of a crush on him right now. Like, it's great. And he said, well, I wasn't impressed with him last year at Penn State. They lacked intensity. It's just not the same as Brentman. I'm like, that Penn State defense that finished 7th in the country in a pretty good Big Ten and finished 8th in scoring defense. That's the one you're not impressed with. Okay, let's just continue to be miserable. Don't be miserable. It's a pretty good football team. We don't know what's going to happen. Luck of the draw, injuries, fluky bounces. But this team has a shot. That's what you ask for.
Yeah, you just want to be able to be one of the teams in that chance and that shot to be one of the big teams in the big dance. Magnifies with an expanded playoff and in a weaker conference. Clemson, theoretically, even if let's say LSU wins off of a game-winning field goal, the sky's not going to fall apart. You still have a conference to win. You still have South Carolina at the tail end of the season to sort of look at that progress. So there's a lot of opportunities for this team. Obviously, you want to get off on the right foot, beat an SEC team in the opener, win an opener of that kind of magnitude for the first time in quite some time. But you'd sort of mentioned with Sweeney's that comfortable nature that he's had for the last week, and we've kind of relayed that at the open house as well. As he looks really comfortable, and it's a good thing. Is Mike Houston as well on that defensive side of the ball? There's just so many different pieces. Ben Boulware, the young buck that's been barking around. You got Tom Allen, the seasoned veteran. Mike Houston, another former head coach. Mike Reed, plenty of coaching experience. Obviously, potentially could have been a head coach at one point. There's a lot of different facets there for this defense to work with. And it's I keep using the word cohesive. It's a more cohesive unit this year, it feels like, with Tom Allen as the leader. The best thing that I've ever heard about Allin in the last several months, is that when he gets in that box to call the games, he's like a caged animal. And I was like, I want to see it. Can we get a camera in like the corner and just watch him go? I know ESPN probably will for the opener because they're going to want to do a couple segments on Tom Allen, so they may catch something. But we've seen plenty of coaches in the past in those boxes just go nuts. I might want to see that. Just give me a little 30-second snippet of what it's like to coach up there.
I would love to see him on the sideline, just to be honest with you. I was thinking that the other day when I was watching him that, Clemson has had, no disrespect to Wes Goodwin, but not the most intense or intimidating guy down on the sideline for 3 years. And I see Tom Allen's intensity, and I see how he's respected. And you think, man, if it gets to a point in the game where you need a little something, you kind of want that guy down there to look his players in the eyes, right? I might be rethinking that. And I know that he trusts Ben Boulware. I know he trusts his son, Thomas Allin. You've got Nick Eason, Mike Reed, Chris Rumph, all experienced guys, right? Like these guys know how to coach football. They can get inside, somebody's posterior if they need to. We'll keep this PG rated for Miss Pickett. But they can get inside somebody's posterior if they need to. But I'd kind of like to see him down on the sidelines. And I don't know who you put in the box at that point. But I'd like to see him down there. It's just different. It's been different. You talk to the players, and I've got a column coming that by the time this goes, the column will probably be up talking about how LSU is preparing. And they are focused solely on Clemson. And guess what? Clemson's focused solely on Clemson too. It's one rep at a time, one day at a time, one play at a time. And let's just kind of get to August 30th and see where we are. It's all good. And, I can truthfully say this is the best. I think this is the best team since 2018.
Before we get back to this video, we'd like to thank the title sponsor for this podcast, Newton, Scott, and Associates. This team is headlined by Jeff Scott, former Clemson assistant coach and two-time national champion, as well as Eric Newton, a longtime local and trusted real estate partner. These two are teaming up to provide a first-class experience for all Clemson fans. Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or build in the upstate area of South Carolina, you can trust Newton, Scott, and Associates. Choose the same team that Clemson coaches are selecting when they're looking to buy, sell, or build, all the way from Tigertown to Lake Kiowee. For more information, you can find them at newtonscottsc.com or by calling the number 864-722-9062. That's 864-722-9062. Now, let's get back to the video. Okay. That's something to work with there. And this is sort of the unique aspect of this show is you've seen what it looks like in 2018.
Oh, yeah.
You covered that team. You've been to some of those practices, some of the traits and the characteristics of good football teams. Obviously, Clemson's teams in the past couple of years, they haven't been bad, but obviously there's a standard that's been established here. So that's fascinating to hear. Obviously, talent-wise, I think that's probably accurate. There's a couple of areas where you're concerned, but there's talent that can emerge. I like safety. I think both you and I are pretty high on what potentially Ricardo Jones can do in an elevated role, or Kylon Griffin in an elevated role. The tight end room is fascinating. There's one thing that I would love to focus on just real quick, and it's the offensive line with Matt Luke. Got a chance to watch him day one. There's not a coach I enjoy. I know we've been talking about Tom Allen. There's not a coach I enjoy watching do his thing more than I do with Matt Luke. There's just something, and it's not to like gush or just like the fan part of it. It's more of just the appreciation of football, of the way he teaches. And you kind of talked about Allin demanding it and this accountability. I wrote in our day one notes is that Matt Luke was talking about the intentionality of these reps and why he wants them to do this. He was doing a thing, and I have Gavin Blanchard written down because already, and as Sweeney had talked about this in his press conference day one, is that they're looking for a set number of starters on the offensive line. And he's probably not going to be a big contributor this year. I wrote down he looks a lot better than he did in the spring. And I don't know if that's just the weight training that he's gone through this summer. Looks a lot quicker with his legs. Matt Luke was giving him a lot of praise. There's a couple pieces in that freshman class that have come in that got their butts handed to them in the spring. Just the Matt Luke boot camp. There were injuries. They look a lot better. And it's just been a couple months. And there's just something to this group that in years past it was a weakness or an area of concern. This is a deep position and arguably is the deepest on this team besides a couple other spots. It's really impressive to see that kind of transpire.
Yeah, well, Dabo said something interesting that I think maybe to Chris Lowe that he felt like they have 7 starters on the offensive line or 7 guys that can start. So in my mind, I'm going, well, who did we see run out there first? Well, it was Tristan Lee at left tackle. It was Colin Sadner at left guard. Of course, our guy with the long hair that I was kind of looking at the flow the other day with Ryan Linthicum at center, Walker Parks at right guard, and then, of course, Blake Miller at right tackle. So who does that 7 include? Well, you've also got Harris Sewell, who's started and probably will start at some point this year. Elijah Thurman, who got that spot start up at Virginia Tech last year and then got hurt. I think you probably consider him a starter. Braden Jacobs, is he number 8? I think he's ready to play. Like, he just looks like it. And then there's any number of these guys that have been brought in over the past year, and you look at them and you go, they're really close. So I agree. This is a deep group. There's been times over the past couple of years you're sending walk-ons out there. If an injury happens, we talk about this wide receiver group being deep. Yeah, I can remember Dabo sitting over against the glass. We had just finished a practice, and he was laughing because Will Sweeney was going to have to start the South Carolina game at wide receiver. And he said, that just shows you how things are right now. If you've got Will Sweeney starting a wide receiver, something bad has happened. And, the Tigers they'd undergone, so many injuries. The depth just wasn't there. People leaving. So, again, all on paper, this team has the pieces that it takes, and you're really good in the trenches. And that's why, 2019, somebody told me that this team is going to take a step back just a little bit because the defensive line, offensive line had lost so many pieces, and that you have to be dominant on the defensive line to go win a national championship. And that team lost 4 starters: Cleveland Farrell, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, Austin Bryant, gone, right? And you had guys coming in, KJ Henry, Xavier Thomas, Tyler. These guys were ready to play, but they weren't quite to the level of what the Power Rangers were, not that first year. I look at this group and I see DeMonte Capehart and Peter Woods and Stephylon Green and Champ Thompson out there looking really good. A lot of these kids, you see Will Helt, my goodness, is that what a football player is supposed to look like? Yeah, probably. TJ Parker, Jaheim Lawson looks fantastic. Darian Mayo, all 6'7" of him, and the big levers that he has, still looking a lot better. And you go, man, this is what I mean when I say best looking teams at 2018. This is what it's supposed to look like. And
sorry, we just know that we were both in person for that LSU Clemson game.
Yeah.
So obviously that game was won in the trenches, right? Like Joe Burrow had an unlimited time in the pocket, and then obviously Trevor Lawrence on the other side just gets. It's probably his worst collegiate game, but it was more of a factor just because he was getting a hand in his face,
knocked around, yeah.
So with the trenches, and sorry to cut you off on the kind of the point
fine.
there, but this team, you look at the Will Helts, who, goodness, I know Ian Shefflin's out there, and he's kind of the biggest guy just because of the stature and the frame. Will Helt still looks like he could probably, if you miffed him in any ways, you got to leave. You got to leave the state. That guy's just a monster of a human being. But you had mentioned some people that I think that you sort of look at that 2018 team with the Christian Wilkins, the Cleveland Farrells of the world. That team got a nice boost from Xavier Thomas, who was a freshman that came in and had a couple big plays. There's got to be, and I feel like it's probably Amari Adams of that reserve group, just of who so far has popped in camp. But could that be a Jaheim Lawson? Could that be a Darian Mayo that's made some improvements? There needs to be that second level that you're not going, okay, we need to cross our fingers on this 2nd and 10 that Will Helt can catch his breath on the sidelines here. Man, let's hope Peter Woods can get back out there soon. There's got to be a level of, they got this. There's going to be a little drop off, but it's enough that obviously Peter Woods is a top 10 draft pick. Stephylon Green just has to go out there and make something happen. Like it's one of those things. You just got to hope there's not a significant drop off out there. And I think this team does have it in those areas. It's those problem areas that we talked about last year. Depth at the offensive line, that Pittsburgh game when they put so many different people. I think Blake Miller was at left tackle, and they had Walker Parks out wide too. Like there was such a mismatch of characters on that offensive line. And then obviously the defensive line, the Texas game, they would just point it to the side TJ Parker wasn't on and run the football that way. So I don't think teams will be able to do that as much this year.
I love the fact that you talked about Ian Shefflin there as we get towards the 20-minute mark. His interview was fantastic last night. He was great. I went out with Christian Bettenker and Josh Sapp for a minute, so I came back in. And I was really interested to see how you wrote your lead on the Ian Shefflin story this morning, the phone call from Dabo Sweeney. On the way home, I was thinking, well, if I'm writing it, what am I going to write, as a lead? To me, it would be about delusion. Because I asked Christian Bettenker, are you as good? Do you talk any smack? Because Christian Bettenker holds some Indiana State records in basketball, right? do you talk a little smack? And he's like, yeah, I tell him I'm better than he is. We know that the head coach is a bit of a chucker. He loves to shoot. There's some other guys out there who think that they are really good basketball players. And so we asked Ian Shefflin, do they have a shot? And he was like, they're delusional. They have no shot whatsoever. So my lead would have been, Ian Shefflin, some of his teammates are coming to him saying that, they can beat him, but he says they're delusional. People say that Ian Shefflin is delusional for trying to try out at tight end, right? Like, kind of a nice little segue there. But he seems really comfortable with his decision. He even admitted hadn't shot basketball since May. Went out, shot 5 air balls in a row, then just started dunking so he could feel good about himself. But he was very comfortable in his own skin. Admitted Peter Woods hasn't run through his chin strap yet. It's been physical, but man, he's still there. He's still got a smile. We have no idea how much he's going to play. No, it's not even fair to really guess, I guess, at this point, because it's going to be about blocking, something he hadn't done in a long time. It's not about running routes. Now, I will say this. I don't think I'm going to let any secret out of the bag here. They line him up at wing on field goal, and they had him at one side and Will Helt on the other. So you had, right at 13 feet of wings on field goal. Could you see a point where Clay Sweeney, who is a pretty good little athlete, where Clay Sweeney comes out of a hole and throws a touchdown pass to Shefflin on a fake field goal?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because I think that was the first thing we physically saw him do on the football field was special teams work. And he had admitted it, that's probably where he's going to play the most. And he said, wherever I can contribute, I want to sort of be a source of inspiration for anybody that's trying to make this transition as well. He knows he's not the only one. He mentioned he's been talking to the Colts tight end, Mo Alley Cox, or former Colts tight end, played basketball at VCU, now is making some headway in the NFL. Antonio Gates just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. The extreme example is probably him of what it's like to transition from football or basketball to football. But there's a variety of things they could do with him and try. I would suggest they do that not against LSU, but I think they know that. That's why they pay them the big bucks. But it is fascinating, and I think it was good to talk to him last night to get that perspective of how this has gone. It's fascinating, and he's mentioned too with this team, they're so interconnected and so close that adding someone from basketball, there could be some animosity of just like, what the heck is this dude doing? Like, what does he think he's doing? Who do you think you are trying to come onto our turf? Like, there's some territorialness, I'm sure.
But
sometimes.
He's just such a likable guy. I don't know how you can get mad at him.
He said it was easy. He said the guys made it perfectly fine. And so you just have this
so
group
likable. Like,
hey, you want to come try this? All right. Like we're locked in anyways. So we might as well add an extra body to the mix. So it was a nice little, I think it was one of the more pleasant press conferences that we've had so far. Not that they haven't been, but.
And we get to see more on Wednesday. They'll be in full pads and helmets. We get to go back out there and
Jervy,
I'll go hang out with the old men and we'll get to see it. It's going to be fun.
I think tomorrow's Jervy.
Oh, that's right. How about that?
That'll be I don't know, because it hasn't stopped raining, David, for the last 2 days. Feels like since Sunday night, it has not stopped.
It is pouring outside of my window right now, so we'll see if we're escorted over to Jervy or if it is going to be inside, because I guarantee you Jervy's a mess right now.
It's a lot of spots. I mean, the pathway to get onto the spot where the facility with the walkway is just a dangerous path. I just cringe every time I walk by it because I'm like, oh, my shoes are gonna get just destroyed walking through this, because I know, knowing my luck, I'm gonna trip and fall, and then you're gonna just see a bunch of mud on me on my way into there. So
couldn't happen to a nicer Patriots fan.
Oh, come on now. We're having fun here. It's been nice, but we'll just end on that note, just so everyone can get their little jabs in. But guys, thank you as always for tuning into the Orange Crush podcast. This was our fall camp impressions, and we're gonna have more of those on the way. August 20th, we're gonna have the voice of LSU coming to this podcast. We're gonna have a couple other guests and just more content. We're 25 days away from the kickoff against LSU, biggest game in recent memory for Clemson. and we'll be right there with it. And for you guys, tailgating, it's the big day against LSU. Don't be hungry. Don't let your appetite ruin your day. Go get yourself some Chick-fil-A. Be the king of your tailgate. Get yourself some chicken nuggets or a chicken biscuit. I know in my college days when my roommate's mother brought a buffet style of chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A, my day was made, and yours could too. So, guys, thank you as always for tuning in. Thank you to Newton Scott and Associates and Chick-fil-A for their sponsorships. Subscribe for more. Take care.